You may wonder, why do some deals still go through even though they were super risky? So there's a lot of different reasons that can happen in private money lending. So there's a difference between just blanket risk that's unmanaged and then managed risk, okay? And the thing about risk is people really like to think about risk as black and white, but it's really not. And you may know this, but just briefly, like risk is a spectrum, okay? So you have risky, meaning like certain to happen. Actually, let's say this is certain to not happen. And then this is certain to happen. This is the spectrum of risk. When someone says something is risky, that could be anywhere in between these two, right? And so when you're saying something is risky, you really have to be more specific as to what you mean, okay? And understand the risks that are involved. So if something is more likely to happen than not, then it's closer to this side of the risk spectrum. If it's less likely to happen or pretty much impossible, it's further on this side, right? So understanding where the specific risk is on the spectrum can be very helpful for you. Let's do an example. So let's say you are funding a loan to a fix and flipper. I love using a fix and flip example. Let's say you're funding a loan to a fix and flipper and you know that the property is located in a up and coming area that has a little bit of crime, not totally unsafe, but it's a little rough around the edges. Okay, it's on its way, and the borrower is doing this flip. Maybe they've installed a security system that has continuous monitoring. So key facts, and maybe they also have a security dog there, and the borrower has told you that they will not be adding a vandalism rider to their insurance policy. Okay. Now, the question is, what is the risk that the property will be vandalized, right? Because that's what when we say, oh, that's risky, like that's really what we're asking here. What is the risk that the property will be vandalized? Okay. So if we go back to our spectrum, it's impossible to be vandalized, or it is certainly going to be vandalized. Now, given the facts that we have, think about where on this spectrum we might be. So we know it's an up and coming neighborhood. We know it's got a bit of crime. It's a little rough around the edges. But we also know that we have a guard dog and we have a security system, right? So I think it's safe to say it's not impossible that the property would be vandalized, but it's also not certain. So let's start at the 50-50 line. So the 50-50 chance that the property would be vandalized, let's just say that's the baseline, like just without all of the other stuff, just 50-50 chance. Now, the fact that there's a big, scary guard dog, that could probably reduce the risk of it, maybe a little bit. Now, the fact that there's an alarm system and it's continuous monitoring, that may reduce the risk a little bit more. We may ask questions of the borrower like, will it be readily visible that the property is monitored by an alarm company? Like, do you have stakes in the ground that show, whatever security name or monitored by whatever? And let's say the borrower says no. Okay, let's make a simple request. Can you order some of those and put those in the ground so we can help mitigate some of this risk? Borrower says yes. All right, bet. Now we're even more towards the less likely piece of that, right? So yeah, they don't want to get insurance, but there may be other mitigating factors to consider that still make this deal work, right? And so that's one small slither of how sometimes deals get funded anyway, even if someone has labeled it as risky, right? And that's just one piece. These are the kinds of analysis that people may be doing when they're working with their borrower to decide, like, is this something I want to move forward with? And so in that situation, if I decide to fund that loan, that's a calculated risk, right? I understand the risk. I appreciate the risk. I'm thinking about the circumstances. I've thought about ways to mitigate. The borrower has stated that getting insurance or adding on that vandalism rider will be cost prohibitive and, will pretty much make the margins too thin or, whatever it is. I'm like, okay, well, let's take a look here. You got some other things going for you. you got this security dog, you got an alarm system, we put the stakes in the ground. I may even work with the borrower to think about what else can we do to make sure that it's secure. Can we put a deadbolt lock? Can we, there may be other things that we can do that can work with the numbers that aren't an insurance policy. So that's how you may wonder, like, how is it that this person got funding for this and that was super risky and I didn't get funding for my deal, or this other person didn't get funding? Sometimes you just don't know the full circumstances and the full analysis that went into that project and that deal. Okay. So that's how some deals get a yes, even if they seem risky on the face value.